Well, the Doctor Strange movie is coming out in a year and a half, so we better start talking about it now. Welcome to Kevin's commentary on comics. Yes, it won't be until November 16th, 2016 before we see Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. And according to franchiseherald.com, Cumberbatch, who is better known as Sherlock Holmes to most, although some may see him as Khan in Star Trek in the recent reboot or restart, or, what are we calling that? The Chris Pine version of Star Trek? Is that a reboot? Is that a restart? Is it an alternate reality? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, Cumberbatch nailed Khan in the second of that series. And of course, others may think of Smog as their Cumberbatch of choice. What was I talking about? Oh yes, franchiseherald.com is reporting that Cumberbatch is getting buffed up for the role of Doctor Strange. He said, a skinny Sherlock Holmes will be the last thing anyone thinks of. Which is good. I like to hear this because I was a bit concerned. In reality, Doctor Strange and Sherlock Holmes, character-wise, are very close to the same. I mean, if you took the Ditko Strange, the original and best as far as I'm concerned, you could kind of interchange the characters pretty easily. And for the most part, Doctor Strange has maintained who he is for all of his career, right? All right. Just ignore this stuff, okay? It's all in the past. So to hear that Cumberbatch is bulking up to be Doctor Strange is, I think, a good sign. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he is and probably always will be Sherlock Holmes. So I was concerned that him being Doctor Strange, there would be too much comparison between the two characters. And I didn't want to see that. I want this to stand on its own. Now, back when Doctor Strange was first being rumored as being a movie, and all the internet hype and talk about who is going to play Doctor Strange and who the front runners are and all that type of stuff, Johnny Depp was one of the first people to come out of there. And I was really kind of hoping it would be Depp, because I thought he could really do a very, very good Doctor Strange. Plus, Depp tends to stick with some of these franchise movies, but either Depp declined or they never actually talked to him about it. They've got Benedict Cumberbatch on board, and I'm okay with that. I think he's going to be really, really good. And if he is going to bulk up for the role, all the better. Anything that's going to distance him from being Sherlock Holmes within the Doctor Strange movie is a good thing. So what does this have to do with my normal Friday comic review? Well, let me tell you. Going back again to the early days of the rumors about Doctor Strange movies, I read a couple of blogs or internet articles about what the story might be. One writer suggested that maybe Marvel's 2008 series called The Oath might be a good one to adapt for a Doctor Strange movie, because it is a great jumping on point for people who have never read Doctor Strange before. So I was curious about it, decided to go find the story and read it myself. And thanks to the greatness that is Marvel Unlimited, the Netflix of comics, I was able to read the entire 5-issue run. I just love Marvel Unlimited. DC, why? Why don't you give us a DC Unlimited? Please. Anyway. So I read The Oath. It was great. Spoiler alert right here. I am going to get into the gory, open wound style details that you've come to expect from me. Open wound style details? Who writes this stuff? So it's called The Oath. It is very well titled because it refers to the oath that Doctor Strange took under the tutelage of the Ancient One when he became the Sorcerer Supreme. It talks about the oath that Vaughan has, Vaughan being Doctor Strange's manservant, the oath that Vaughan has to serve Doctor Strange. It refers to Doctor Strange's Hippocratic oath that he took becoming surgeon, the oath of the friendship between Strange and Vaughan, and even an oath some other dude took to become the Sorcerer Supreme as a backup. I'll get to that in a minute. So oaths are all over the place, and they're really woven nicely into the story. Really fine job by the writer, Brian Vaughan. The artist, Marcos Martin, he was really good. Not sure I've ever seen his stuff before, but after reading this, I think I'm going to go search and find other things that he's done because I really enjoyed his artwork. But I'm very familiar with Vaughan. I'm a huge fan. I mean, Runaways, come on. That was a great series. I think that was one of the first digital comics I picked up in trade paperback form. And why? The Last Man? I gotta go back and reread that. It's been quite a while since I've read Why the Last Man. I need to go revisit that. DC, if you can't give us a DC Unlimited, how about a Vertigo Unlimited? Then I can go back and read this and read it. Maybe I need to check Comixology. They probably have this in digital form, and I could probably take it out that way. So back to The Oath. It is basically a story of Doctor Strange getting shot. He was shot in his Sanctum Sanctorum. The guy who shot him was after this magic elixir that Doctor Strange had acquired from some other dimension in an effort to try to cure Wong, who has an inoperable brain tumor. Now, whether this inoperable brain tumor was introduced in this story or if it had already been established in normal Strange continuity, I don't know. It didn't matter when it happened. It was just that was part of the story. That's why Doctor Strange had to go get this elixir, and that is why someone went and robbed him of it before he had a chance to use it on Wong. I mean, you go get a magic elixir from some other dimension, you're going to want to run a couple tests before you just give it to someone, right? Yeah, right. That's exactly what you do. So this is the whole framework of the story that basically kind of weaves in Doctor Strange's origin in a flashback form. Again, excellent for a movie adaptation. We're pretty much tired of origin-based movies, right? But you need to have some sort of background for those people who don't know who any of these characters are. Got to have established, like, well, where did this guy get his magic powers? And how come he has that cape? And what's that little thing on his neck? All these things need to be answered in some way. And I think flashback is the way all origins should be handled thus forward when it comes to comic book hero movies. So if you use this story that was told over 5 issues that was called The Oath, I think you've got a perfect movie. Fits in nicely into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It introduces Doctor Strange. It dives into a lot of the little things that Doctor Strange is involved in, other dimensions, the relationship between him and Wong. And this story here really does highlight the relationship between Strange and Wong. You can see that Strange cares for Wong and Wong cares for Strange. You understand Wong's behavior and why he is the manservant to Strange, and that Strange just doesn't fully treat him as a butler, but does a lot more than just that. The book also features Night Nurse, who is otherwise known as Claire Temple, although I don't think her name was actually used in the book The Oath. But you may know Claire Temple / Night Nurse from her role on the Netflix Daredevil series, played by Rosario Dawson. Now, whether they will include her or not, who knows? I mean, obviously, if they're going to do The Oath, they have to, because she's a very integral part of this story. And this would be a great way to tie in some of the Netflix stuff in with the normal Marvel cinematic, I'm going to the movie theater universe. I know Rosario Dawson just signed on for season 2 of Daredevil, and along with appearances in other Netflix related properties, but I don't know if that includes anything on the big screen. So those are your main 3 protagonists in the story. And what is a story without antagonists? So you've got 3 of these dudes too. First, the aforementioned Brigade, who is the one who actually shoots Doctor Strange while he is stealing the elixir. But Brigade was hired by Dr. Nicodemus West. Now, Dr. West was the doctor who originally tried to fix Stephen Strange's hands after they became injured in the car wreck, as told famously in the Doctor Strange origin. So West has now become the CEO of a pharmaceutical company who feels that this magic elixir just might hurt the bottom line if it should happen to cure cancer. The third antagonist, although not quite as prominent, is the rejected patient, Reginald Pavlish. Now, Pavlish is one of the guys that Doctor Strange said he could not treat because Pavlish just wasn't prominent. Strange didn't have time. He had to take care of doctors and lawyers and senators and stuff like this. So it's no surprise that Pavlish went to West and congratulated him and was super excited at the fact that he helped destroy Doctor Strange's career. Although that's not what West actually did. West felt a little bad and took Pavlish on as a patient. But West was also feeling a little guilty that he was not able to help Doctor Strange, and actually went to go find Strange after Strange had disappeared into the Himalayas. West finds the Ancient One as well. The Ancient One's about ready to dismiss him, but decides, you know what? Maybe I need a little bit of a backup for Strange because, you know, the guy seems to be a little bit of an a-hole, and maybe he needs a backup. So he started to teach West the mystic arts West felt like he had learned enough, left before his lessons were done. He wasn't a master of mystic arts. He was had more of an associate's degree in mystic arts. Tried to cure Pavlish using his newly found magics. Worked for about 3 seconds, and then Pavlish blew up. So magic doesn't cure all. At about the same time, West was recruited by a pharmaceutical company who had been following him around as well. They were not crazy to hear about all these magic users starting to pop up. Decided to take West as one of their own. Said, hey, we're going to make you CEO of our company as long as you don't ever use magic again. West agrees because, hey, CEO, it's a pretty good job. So West wants the elixir and wants basically to just get rid of it because that's his job. And Strange wants to cure Wong. But unfortunately, before he can actually get the elixir back, Wong dies. Then we get a big showdown between Strange and West. West using his powers, even though he hasn't done it in quite a while. Kind of looks like maybe he's got the upper hand on Strange, but really Strange actually never had any issues in trying to deal with West at all. Manages to get the elixir from West, although just a little bit of it before the rest of it fell into a storm drain. That little bit was enough to cure Wong. Happy ending all around. So overall, the story is treated like a mystery. Strange is the confident detective, and Wong and Night Nurse are kind of interchangeable as Watson. There's even a point where Strange refers to Night Nurse as Watson and uses the term elementary in the story. And this is where I have a problem using the Oath as the adopted Doctor Strange movie script. It is perhaps too much like a Sherlock Holmes story with the couple of references, the fact that it is kind of a mystery, that people who are familiar with Cumberbatch as Sherlock Holmes will just see this as, oh, look, it's Sherlock Holmes in a cape. It's Sherlock Holmes using magic. We don't want those type of comparisons because that will inevitably kind of bring down the movie a bit. Unless they make some significant changes, they could probably remove the Watson and the elementary and that type of stuff. They would have to, I think. Absolutely have to if they're going to use this story. They could remove that and it'd probably be okay. Because the book is a really good jumping on point. It really does get into Doctor Strange's origins very nicely without hammering us over the head with it. And it deals a lot with, kind of the early days of Strange coming back to haunt him in the present day. So all good stuff. But I don't want a comparison, because it is Cumberbatch, to this being Sherlock Holmes in a cape. Now, perhaps this is a bit unfair to Cumberbatch, saying that he can't play Doctor Strange after playing Sherlock Holmes because everybody associates with him. I just saw The Imitation Game the other night, and I thought that was excellent, and not once did I think, oh, this guy is Sherlock Holmes, even though the guy in The Imitation Game who Cumberbatch portrays is super smart. Character was so vastly different and acted so well by Cumberbatch, I completely forgot that that's what Cumberbatch did originally. So great. I'm glad that Cumberbatch is bulking up, and if the Oath is the story they use, great, but there are gonna have to be some changes. Obviously that's gonna happen anyway because that's how these things go. But as of the airing of this, we don't really even know what the story is, and as a matter of fact, all we really know is that Cumberbatch is playing Strange and Scott Derrickson is the director. Scott Derrickson is kind of a horror movie, I guess, thriller horror movie director. He's directed such movies as Sinister, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and Deliver Us from Evil. So a little bit of a horror aspect, which that may not actually fit in with the Oath either, because it's not really a horror comic, and not to say that Derrickson, that's all he can do, but it's interesting. It's a great book, believe me. I'm glad I went and read it, and I highly recommend you do the same. It's probably one of the best Doctor Strange stories I've read in quite a while, and maybe, and I think it's regarded industry-wise as being one of the best Doctor Strange stories ever written, which is high praise, certainly. But is it the right choice for the movie? What do you think? Have you read The Oath? Do you think this is the movie they should, or this is the story they should use as the movie? Or is there another story that you think would be better, not counting the origin of Doctor Strange? We got to take that out. They can't do that. They shouldn't do that. They could, I guess. I'd be perfectly happy with it. Let's just do origins and flashbacks. Let's not do a movie all based on the origin of the particular character. No one really cares about that anymore. So I think The Oath would work great for that, but I am concerned about the Sherlock Holmes connection with this particular story. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment below. Let's talk about it. We certainly have plenty of time because, as I said, it's a year and a half before this movie actually comes out. But until then, I'm Kevin. That was my commentary. Click on that subscribe button. We can talk about more about this stuff. By the eye of Agamotto, you shall click on the subscribe button. Have you ever noticed that this looks a lot like this? It was Ditko, by the way, who drew both Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Interesting. Okay. I will talk to you next time. Later.